You're listening to the episode of Mr. Allie's Neighborhood. This is the place where you're entitled to Brad's opinion. And now for your host, Brad Allard.
Well, if I have to introduce this guest to you, you must not have been in Burleson very long because he was here to greet the Western settlers. He's been here so long. Is that
Pretty much, yes.
It feels like it. So everybody knows Ronnie Johnson, and he's been on the school board. He's been on the city council. He's public celebrity. We're going to probably, they named this county after him, I believe. No, I'm sure he's heard that before.
No, I'm afraid not.
All right, anyway, but we're going to change it to Burlesonville. We're going to Johnsonville now, whatever. Anyway, we're going to talk about city issues and also his candidacy for mayor. And I'm sure you'll have questions and put them on the screen, or if you're too shy, you can text me, but I'd like to see him on the screen. But anyway, it's going to be an interesting conversation because, the deadline is the 17th, is it right, for the signing up?
That's right.
And so far, it's just you and Mr. Fletcher. And I don't know if it's going to change or not. I don't have the insights or the spy network. I wish I did sometimes, but there you are. But before we jump into the deep end of the pool, let's do the sponsors because they get this to you every 3 days out of the week.
Sure.
All right. Thank you, Daniel CrossFit Burleson, 317 Southwest Wilshire. We thank you for all you do for the community and for that orphanage in Guatemala, Eagle's Nest. That's always a good thing to look into if you're looking for a charity to support. It's CrossFitBurleson.com, as we could find out the programs, the training, the regimens, the hours, the whole 9 yards, the membership plans, you name it. So check that out. It's a good place to get a pretty good workout. Also, thank you to Shandy Stockdale. I had her on yesterday, and I'll have her on again probably late March. She's, as you know, running for place 4 on the school board, and she also is the real estate queen. You move in this town, you need to talk to her because she knows where the real estate is, and she has a really good idea about what school systems do for real estate values and things of that nature. She's always well prepared. So check out both her business page and her campaign page. And our friend Otto, everybody loves Otto.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Otto is quite the character. I was there last Friday having lunch with one of my networking group friends, and he's just rolling through the restaurant, acting like a big shot. And I'm like, hey, Otto, and he comes sit down with you and schmooze and all this, while his son is running around, like his pants are on fire, trying to get everybody served. And so it's really funny to watch. But thank you, Otto, for all you do at our place restaurant. It's a good place to do business. Also, another good place to do business is Wild Cigar and Culture over at the Standard. Go over there and have yourself a drink or a smoke and whatnot. It's a good place to have a conversation. It's a good place for, letting yourself think. I mean, you go to some of these sports bars and it sounds like you're in the middle of a, rock and roll concert, but here it's, it's got the game on, but you can still have a good conversation, quality drink, etc. So that's a good place to go. Also, Tiffany Griffin, as many of us still call her, with the Local Life magazine. She'll be putting it out again pretty soon, but it's already out there. I think this issue is the real estate issue. Talks about real estate agents and things of that nature. So I believe that also at the center of it, they always have city events listed and school events and whatnot. So thank you for that, Tiffany. You also could check out localftx.com if you want something more current. Potential spam is calling me. I'll just talk to potential spam later. Also, thank you, Southern Gym. Now, Valentine's Day, Mr. Johnson, have you taken care of that part?
I will be taking care of that tonight.
A good place to do it. Open until 5. So, they have some specials on or gift cards, and or if you have something that needs repairing, they do all that. They're about to go downstairs, so to speak. On the third floor now, they're going down the bottom floor. We're hoping by mid-March. It all depends on, contractor schedules and all this other business, but it'll be very, very soon. And I always, something that Ronnie and I could appreciate, we go to these stores where women take us to quite often.
Absolutely.
What do we do? We stand around and look. Now, she's going to have a place for us to sit and watch the ball game while they're doing it. So, and maybe have a Dr. Pepper or a glass of wine or something like that. And I'm thinking now, why don't more people do that?
What a wonderful concept.
Yes. So anyway, Southern Gym is open today for Valentine's if you need to, give something to your sweetie. Also, Hot Works over on 731. I had Michelle on about 2 weeks ago, and she was talking with the cryotherapy lady over at that's over in Summercrest and Allsbury, and they both kind of work together at a different angle. One is doing cold therapy and is doing infrared therapy and all this. It's good for us old folks anyway if we get rid of the aches and pains. A lot of the CrossFit crowd goes over there to relax their muscles, so it's a good place to go work out. They have 11 different workouts: yoga, Pilates, bike, the whole 9 yards. Also, Melissa Harmon, Texas Farm Bureau agent. She's my Farm Bureau agent. She could be your Farm Bureau agent. 682-804-0534. You know, you think, well, I already got insurance. Well, she can check it out and see if you can, save some money in it. And she did for me, and she saved me some money. And also up my life insurance a bit. So, now if I do all this voodoo I have to do on Facebook here about sharing with multiple groups, why don't you tell me, Mr. Johnson, some of your experience you've had in public service for this community?
Okay, and I think that's a fair question. I served 20 years on the school board. I'm into my 11th year on the city council. I will tell you that while I was on the school board, I served every office. I was president of the school board several times. We operate at the city and the school exactly the same way. We operate under the Open Records Act.
Right.
So I'm very familiar with running meetings and how they operate and how they work.
I always wondered why you went from the school board to the city. I would think after 20 years of getting people throwing things at you at school board meetings, you'd want to move on. I'm sure your daughters would ask you that same question. But so what made you move from the school board to the city?
Well, I had fully intended to call it a day, and I had some people contact me and say, "Would you consider running for the city?" And when they first asked me, I said, I don't have any experience with the city. I did have school experience. And I thought about it, and I thought, well, I'm not totally dumb. I can learn. So I went ahead and ran for office. And I was successful, and this will be, let's see, 5 times, I believe.
Yeah.
I've run 12 times. I've been at it 31 years.
And you won every one of them. And they're all citywide elections, so it must give you some source of pride in the sense, at least that, you must have had support of the people all this time. Since you started your campaign, have you had people contacting you about support and things of that nature?
Yes, I have. We've had great support. When we came out, and I announced within 24 hours one day, we had a call for 100 signs, and we had folks say, "Hey, we're glad you're doing it." And I thought, well, I'm doing the right thing, and it wasn't an easy choice, let me tell you.
So what tipped it over to make that choice? I know your family, I'm sure, was very involved in the discussions. What was the final deciding point?
My family.
Yeah, they said they wanted you to do it?
Finally came together and said, you need to do it.
Well, okay.
So then I knew I was in business. So that gave me the impetus to go ahead and run.
There is something I want to address about a city matter that came up just this weekend.
Okay.
And it's about the library party tonight and all this.
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot of conversation on Facebook, as always, and a lot of it was pretty antagonistic towards this party, and there's some pushback, which I contributed my share, pushback on those people that were complaining about it. What's your view on that whole thing?
Well, Brad, here's what I've always kind of lived by, the fact that before I speak, I try to think about what I'm fixing to say, and in this particular case, when you label let me try to get it, anti-Valentine party for kids that don't have dates, that are not interested in romance, and so come on down to the library, and we're gonna serve some food, we're gonna have crafts, we're gonna have a little music. I think it's wonderful, and then when you say this is a black horrible thing to do, and that you just don't want your city money spent in that direction, which, by the way, they have their own money to set up, and there's plenty of individuals that will give their money for a situation like
Sure.
that. I just think you're not thinking about what you're saying. I, 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 I was not informed of this until Sunday afternoon.
That's when I saw it. Yes.
And I thought, oh my Lord, what have we done now? And and you know the terrible thing about this, Brad, is a lot of us. Well, I'm on the city council along with 6 other people, and all of a sudden you got some people thinking, well, I guess they're all involved in that. We are not all involved in it.
From what I understand, there was only one.
There was one, to my knowledge, yes. Sir.
Make sure that we have equal time, I guess.
Sure.
I called Mr. Fletcher prior to,
Sure.
so he'd have an opportunity to respond. And basically, he got a hold of the news about the same time you did, and he talked to the ladies, and his opinion was, okay, you know, maybe a dark ad, you know, maybe he can brighten it up a little bit, but he liked the concept like you do. And he's going to put a post out later giving his opinion. He and your answer and his answer were roughly the same. You know, he said, okay, you know, anti-love, can you rephrase it at least? But I like the idea, is what he's saying. Taylor, we're echoing in here. Is that
I'm working on it.
Okay. Anyway, so he will make a statement on it, and I just want to give him an opportunity to respond. And so do you. My personal opinion is like yours. When I saw the anti-love ad, and I thought, big deal, you know, because it appeals to kids, right?
Sure.
And I never took anything like we're harming their mental health or self-esteem or this other rot that I saw on Facebook. And I will say, I could, when you're like what you say is right, is like if one does it, it seemed like all 7 are
unfortunately
at fault, and that's not really fair. But I think most people know what we're talking about.
Let me make one statement here, and I'll make it quick.
Mm-hmm.
I've been around kids all my life, worked with kids all my life. I've seen kids that are not really outward. And they have a problem around kids. So when you set up a deal like this and you bring them in a group and they can talk to other kids, all of a sudden they found out they're not by themselves.
Yeah.
So that helps them, I think. And I think this is one of those situations that can greatly help kids. So
Well,
I would be strongly in favor of it.
Well, just to wrap that part up, if you're interested in what Mr. Fletcher has to say, like I say, it says a post, and we have what you're viewing. It really isn't that much difference. And I think some people just like to kick the beehive just because they got nothing better to do.
I guess so.
Yeah. But on the other issue about running, there has to be a motivation for running, other because I'm not getting. I never have gotten a vibe. You're doing it for self fulfillment, or you're doing it because you have ego. There has to be a reason, I think.
No, and I do. I do have 2 or 3 what I consider major reasons, and the very first one is our economy. I have made statements at the meetings that I would like to do more planning, more long range planning with our money, and in doing so, I say my reason right now is simply this. We're in an economy right now that we do not know what's going to happen next. We've been over 6 months in an economy that is inflation is at an all-time high. We are in a recession, whether we want to admit it or not. We've been in a recession. And everybody out there knows when you go out and buy gas, groceries, supplies, building supplies, they're extremely expensive. Now, all of that said, that leads me back to what we do and how we handle our money at the city level. Let's be vigilant about planning and saving our money and so that if it turns like it did in '08, and you remember that,
very
Brad,
much so.
I was on the school board.
Oh, boy.
We were within days, not months, but days of having to RIF teachers.
Yes, I remember that.
I don't want to go back to that.
Yeah.
I want us to be prepared, and in order to do so, you have to do the things that I just got through talking about. You must do a lot of planning. I'll give you one more example.
Okay.
In 2012, we passed the biggest bond in the history of Bartleson, which was about $25 million. It took us literally over 9 months to plan that out and to make sure we knew where every dime was going, where the things that were involved were definitely taken care of, and we knew that we had to look for ways, if we could, to save money prior to going to the public and saying we need to pass this bond. I think that's the very same things we must do right now.
And you don't think they're being done right now?
I think we're just a little short of long-range planning.
Okay.
And I'm not taking a shot at anybody, Brad. You know that.
All right, right.
This is my thoughts, thoughts only. I would like to go back to some of the things we did at that time and do just a little, and do a lot more planning, do things that will help us out if bad times come.
Now, the bond that was recently passed, you voted against it, right?
I did.
And so did Victoria, and she explained her reasons. Basically, it was similar to what you're talking about. She felt like it was not properly thought out all the way. There was too much, I don't know what to call loose money, but money that wasn't accounted directly for what this is going to. Now, Mr. Fletcher comes in and responds, and he has his brochure, said the money's going here and there, and we're building the streets, and okay. So, what's a person to think? I mean, is that bond not properly been prepared for, or not? I guess is the best way to put it.
I understand what you're saying, and first of all, let me tell you that I knew that everything on that listed on that bond was needed. I understood that we needed to expand the police department. At some point in time, within next 5 years, we're going to need a fire station west of town, no question. Do we need road improvement? Do we need some fixing? Yes, we do. That said, the reason I voted against it is exactly what you were talking about. I don't think we did enough planning. I wanted us to pinpoint what we were going to, how we were going to spend the money, what roads are we going to fix. When we get into planning, for example, for expansion, and we've already done that, expansion of the police department, let's go into great detail to see if we can maybe save a few bucks. We don't need the fire department right now. And one thing I did say, I said, look, I know we need these things in this bond, but we don't have to do it right now. We can wait a year and a half to see what this economy is going to do, and then make our plans. And all the time we're waiting, we can do our plans. And then in a year and a half, if things are coming out of this recession, then yes, we can say, okay, it's time. We need these things, but we have thoroughly planned out what we're presenting.
Well, I'm reminded that you were on the school board when they built Centennial, and I'm sure that was some major planning in that.
Yes, there were. Well, no, that's a great example, Brad, because it took us, my gosh, I think it took us, somewhere around a year. To really
easily. I was on the bond group that was trying to get it passed, and we went to meetings and all this other business, and it took a while. And so,
yes, it did.
Victoria, I think, explained y'all's position pretty well, that she was concerned that the money would not be applied to exactly what the bond was directed to. Now, Mr. Fletcher disputes that now, and he'll have his chance to say that, but that's fine. You said you had a couple of other reasons as well. What are some other reasons?
And I think a couple here that are equally important, and we some way somehow have got to improve our community relationships. Our meetings have been less than stellar. I'll put it to you that way. We've had drama.
Really?
Yeah. as you know, we've had name calling. We have gotten to a point where we've name called citizens that are up there for no other reason than to volunteer their time to help us. And some way, somehow, we've got to get away from that. And this Valentine's Day escapade is a great example, even though it was not done by our group of people, our council. We certainly will. People will blame us for it.
I think most people know who is the main instigator. I don't think there was any doubt about that because he posted on Facebook about it. Your friend Bill says, drama. I must have missed those meetings. You know, Bill Janish.
Yeah, he's been very facetious.
Yes, he is. But, you know, that's been a common complaint that I've heard as well, is that platform has been used for personal aggrandizement and venting of spleens and drama and, you know, all this other business. And I have to tell you, Mr. Johnson, people that have said, I dread going to the meetings and speaking because they feel like they're going to get a dressing down. And not from you, and we know who's doing it. We're talking about Mr. Stanford and Ms. Payne, all right? And so they really dread it. And, you know, I've had a couple of friends that said they left those meetings almost in tears because they felt so belittled.
Yes.
And they will deny that you know, Mr. Stanford and Ms. Payne will deny that under pain of torture, but that is exactly what has happened. And Mr. Fletcher and I have talked about that quite a bit. And
well, let me go into my last deal here.
Okay.
This might help you. This is a really big thing for me too. I plan, if I'm elected mayor, I'm going to run the meetings. And why is that important? Well, since I have been there and done that, you get a feel for a way a meeting is going. You can literally keep a meeting on track. You have the ability to stop these dramatics, to stop these comments made. It certainly can be done. And I will tell you right now, I certainly plan to clean this up. Can I do it? Yeah, I can do it. And do I think it's important to run? And I'm not, please, I'm not taking a shot here, okay? I'm simply telling you what I think. Can I run a meeting? Yeah, I know I can run a meeting. I've done it before. Matter of fact, I've been chairman of several boards, Birth and Opportunity Fund, my church. I've done it. So I think that's very important for me to run the meeting so that I do have a feel. I will tell you right now, one of the best mayors I've ever seen is Barry Calvin. Miss Calvin, I'll never forget, one night it had gone afoul and things were going not great. And she had a ruler, I believe it was a ruler, and she slammed that thing down and she said, hey, we're not going to be here till 1 o'clock in the morning because you folks keep repeating yourself. Now, we're going to make a decision and we're going to own. Now, that brings me to this, Brad. If you're the leader, if you're the mayor, there's decisions you have to make, and a lot of times you have to make them quickly, and they're not always accepted. But if I haven't learned one thing, I've learned this. You do not please everybody, and when you start trying to, you're going down the wrong road. I've told my daughter a million times in coaching, if there's a decision to be made, make it. It may be wrong, but you've made the decision. The worst thing you can do is not make a decision. So, I'm up for the task.
Well, that I know personally because I've known you for so long and I've seen you on the board. Miss Caker here, you may know. It's very important to the community as well to have the leader of the community be able to lead and run a meeting. And Ms. Jones, Jackie Jones, who's a faithful listener, and I appreciate her very much, the mayor needs to control the meetings and shut the drama down. I have Mr. Fletcher on in about 2 weeks, and I'll ask him these questions and let him speak for himself about how he's handled it. But as far as that one thing right there, I will agree that there are people that just they look at what's going on in these meetings like, what is going on? And I've had, like I said, I've had conversations with Mr. Fletcher about this, but it needs to become more a more calm, civil place and more welcoming to people that are not just trying to volunteer, but they're trying to do business with the city and whatnot. I don't know what the point is addressing down our city manager, who has a really tough job, and I've seen that
He
happen.
does. He
I
does.
saw them take on the Parks and Rec young woman who runs it.
Oh yeah.
And there's no point in that. They can't because they can't fight back.
No,
for one thing.
no, they can't. I tell you something that we've not done a great job of. Okay, and that's following our agenda. Because you can shut these things down immediately by saying that's not part of this agenda. We are not here to criticize. We are here to follow this agenda and make these decisions. And quite frankly, there's been a couple of times. Let me tell you that the community interest item has bothered me because I'm all for citizens speaking. But if what they ask you is not on the agenda, you cannot answer back. You can look over at the city manager and say, if you'll get this, and maybe we can take care of it, you can take care of it. But if it's not on there, you can't respond to it. And we have done that. And that bothers me. We have a lawyer sitting right next to city manager and the mayor. So he's at your disposal.
No, I've been to some of those school board meetings in particular where they had that opening comment period, and sometimes what they were telling you wasn't singing hymns or they bought it.
Yeah, been down that road.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember one is during this really tough time economically. We were speaking of about 2009 or so for the schools, and they were going to curtail the band trips.
Yes.
And they showed up, and I think they explained their position pretty frankly. That's one way to put it.
Always do.
And at the time that was over, I thought you guys would be driving the buses yourself. So, but and I use that example in my classes as citizens taking action, and this is a good thing to take action on. And the thing about Burleson that I've seen, particularly from this seat and since I've been doing this podcast, there's so many people that really devote themselves to this community.
Yes.
And the nonprofits and for the other parts of the community, for the city, for the schools. I think that is something that not every city has. Most cities may not have that, but we do. We have a lot of people that invest in this town.
We sure do.
And we don't want to take that for granted or have it squandered because somebody gets their knickers in a twist about a Valentine's party.
Absolutely.
And so it's that to me is a very precious resource. We talking about other things about why you're running. You must have a vision for the city. I mean, we're growing and growing and growing, and there is going to be growing pains. This isn't the same town that you and I remember back in 1991
no.
when you were in the famous hamburger joint and that was like, if you're going to have a hamburger, that's where you ate. Now you got to over these other places. Yeah, Taylor still regrets that one, right? But
I'll vote for you if you open Derrick's back up.
Yeah, right. But as far as, we all have all these growing pains. How do you couple that with your vision of it sounds like a more careful budget process or careful restriction of expenditures?
Sure. I think that my goal and my vision for the city is not changed a whole lot. I think that one thing that does draw me in is the fact that we've been able to plan our growth as effectively as any other city has done. Now, do we get criticized for highways? Do we get criticized because 174, by the way, 174, when I was at the Dairy Twin, the last year I was there, was running about 75,000 a day. Now it's running well around 200,000 a day. Now, as a mayor, I've been asked, what are you going to do about that? Not a whole lot I can do about that.
Right. State road. One of the main topics of conversation with Mr. Fletcher is streets. And that kind of stuff, and so I'm sure you hear that too.
Sure.
And then we're opening that big Chisholm development with Rocky Bransom's crew, and
yes,
it's a good problem to have in a sense. Though it's better than having your city grow than having it die.
Oh yes.
And so, but as far as what would you like to see Burleson have or do better or improve on in terms of city services in general?
Sure. Well, one thing we've done, I think, is we're out there now as far as city services is concerned. We have a line you can call. I believe it's 311. If you have any kind of question at all, you can call that line, and they'll direct you directly to who can answer your question or help you. And we've that was one thing we all wanted. And one thing that I wanted to make it easier for our people to get questions answered. And let's take our companies, our construction companies, people that build. It's great when we can make it faster for them. And that was another vision I had. Economical development. That's a big thing for me. I would love to see us have more great jobs. ACT does a great job in bringing people in, but it would be wonderful if we had more companies to come in that could pay $50, $60, $70,000 a year, so that people could stay in the community and not have to be out on 35, 174 every day. That's part of my vision, and I think that it's a slow process, Brad.
Oh yes, yes.
You just have to do the very best you can and make this inroad and that inroad, and you've made progress, and that's pretty much what I see. Planned growth, economic development; those are two biggies for me.
Well, when like we were talking about early '90s, if you wanted to go outside, you had to go outside the community if you wanted to go to a different type of restaurant. You had like three, that you actually could order a meal as opposed to, anything else like that. Or you had to go to the mall at Hewlin, or you had to go or Ridgemont, blah blah blah. Now we could do everything in town.
That's exactly right.
And that's a great thing, but it does come with some issues. I mean, traffic is a booger, and also a big issue is about multifamily housing, about apartments. What's your position on those?
That's a great question. I want to preface that by saying there was a statement out there that said, ask Mr. Johnson if he voted for 10-year tax abatements for all these apartments coming up. There has been no 10-year tax abatement for any apartment coming up. Brad, it'd be like if I ask you, you're running for this position. By the way, did you murder someone? And they know the answer, but they just throw that out there.
Yeah.
Well, I think that as far as my position is if you have a piece of property that's zoned in that manner, they're going to build an apartment on it, and you can't stop them. The law will not allow you to stop. You can stop them, but you'll get sued and lose. And I'll tell you this about apartments. I'm not so anti-apartment myself. When my wife and I came in 1970, it was darn lucky we found one. There was no place to live for us because first-year teacher didn't make much, and Peggy was working too. So these apartments provide a service, and I know there are a lot of complaints about it. I get that, but if they're planned right, I don't see that it's a horrible deal. I see that they're very much needed. You look at the average cost of a home right now, and let's use that first-year teacher again. They're looking $400,000-$500,000 for a home now.
Easily,
they can't do that. And you look at an apartment. A lot of the apartments, $1,600, $1,800 a month. They can't do that very easily.
No.
So
I use my daughter as an example on because she moved. She got out of school, out of college, and she moved to Burleson, and she pays about what I pay in rent. She paid what I pay in mortgage, and it was a nice apartment, but so it wasn't ratty, but it was very small and whatnot. And so I'm just saying it's. A lot of people. I don't know if it's so much they oppose the apartments; they don't care for the people that live in apartments.
They say that, yes.
They're actually in some ways making, in some cases, it's a racial statement, or it's or an economic class statement. We don't want those kind of people.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Yeah, and it's wrong. I mean, you're talking a lot of people that are young working people.
Absolutely. They are working people, and they got to have a place to live.
And as far as like the additional traffic, well, yeah, that happens when you're building. Uh, there's also Sarah Carlson brings up about that depot on Main. That was also a pretty controversial one by itself. And from what I understand, I've been told is that the developers said, "Here's what we want to do," and then at the last minute they said, "Oh, here's what we're going to do," and it's been a source of irritation, at least to the council.
Been problematic. It
Yeah.
certainly has. We have come to some arrangements with those folks, and they have agreed to do things that we wanted them to do. Has it been the best deal that we've ever been through? The answer to that is no.
Yeah, I haven't talked to a council member or Mr. Fletcher yet that said they want to repeat that experience.
No, no, don't.
What was interesting though is that to me, where that depot is designed, there's some businesses right in front of it. Or they're almost intruding on these apartments or something. They're being swallowed up or whatever. I wonder how long that'll last. But
that's a good question. I know the apartment complex bought a lot of land out there. It's a pretty big project. And as far as I don't know that whether they will enhance the businesses or it will be tough for the business. It's hard to say. I know the parking's always an issue.
Oh yeah. Well, I tell you what, it's going to make Old Town even more of a walking site. I know that's been a goal for a while to make it a pedestrian area.
Yes.
Last time I was talking with Victoria about 2 weeks ago, I believe 3 weeks, we were talking about what we're going to do with the formal Hill College spot, the old Methodist church. Now that we got that really nice wing at the early college school.
Yes.
I'll be there tonight. I teach a Tuesday night class, and I teach 2 doors down from where I taught back in 1990. But it's not like a nostalgic trip because it's so much different.
Yes.
It was so much nicer too.
Much nicer.
Back in that day, I had guys in the back of the room with their spit cup. Oh, I missed it. Just rub it into the carpet. We don't mind, do you? And so, I spilled my coffee. We'll match the other stains. But here, it's pretty nice. But anyway, do you have any ideas what to do with that property? Because I know it's city-owned property, and I know there's processes, and you have to go through to put it on the market. But
There are.
It's not like you slap a for sale sign on it. But I can't imagine anything but a private development there.
Well, right now there is one developer that has looked at it and has presented a reasonably nice building, and the idea behind it is to put a couple of restaurants, of course, and some retail, and they've shown us some pictures and of what it looks like, and I would say it's nice. I think they, in my opinion, they came to us and asked for a little bit too much. I think that we will probably be able to come together if they're interested and make some arrangements. It would be very nice. There would be some additional parking if they came, and it would be nice to look at. It's a good concept. So yes, there is interest in. Of course, there's interest in that particular piece of property.
Right. I think it was Bill Jennings suggested when Mr. Fletcher was on last week, closing that little street between Branson or City Market grocery store. We still call it Bransom's, don't we?
That's right.
But closing the street between that property and the grocery store and make that additional parking or whatnot. And and that could be done.
It could.
Yeah,
it could.
I mean, it's not like a street is sacred territory, but I would like to see. Victoria had a good idea about she understood to be retail and maybe some, but also some space for the public to be together and stuff like that.
And there was.
Yeah. And so I hope that developer is leaving some room there, not just to crowd every square inch of that property with a building, but leave a little room for, similar to what you have at the Vera Calvin Plaza.
Sure.
Community related stuff.
Absolutely.
So it's an interesting question though. When the developer comes to you and says, and you said he asked too much, what are they actually asking of you?
They can ask for a lot of things. They can ask for cash. They can ask for tax abatement. They can ask for all of that. And they can ask for time to get their development together so that you've taken the thing off the market. And so in my opinion, they came to us and did ask for a lot. They asked for money and for abatements, and I for one said, look, it's a great concept, but I think they're asking for a little too much, and we're in the negotiation period right now with them. So if it works out, it works out.
Now, when I have Alex Phillips on the show, I could put a gun to him and he still won't tell me what's coming to town. But does this developer already have some clients lined up, or is it like we're going to retail and restaurant space? The clients will come later.
To my knowledge, they don't have anybody set up.
Okay. Well, Alex will, he'll calm down now because I'll get him on there and say, hey, what's coming next? And it says, wait and find out. And I say, thanks a lot, but like breaking news here. But, we've talked about this before, and I've talked with others on the council about that space by the softball fields. And they're,
Yes.
I understand that y'all have acquired property for that, for the new softball fields, or in the process of it.
We're in the process of it, and actually we do own one piece of property west of town that we could do that with. That property you're talking about, the old softball place over by the fire station, is a great example of an area where you could have some great development over there by the golf course all the way over to the softball field. So,
well, your friend Mr. Green comments.
Mr. Green.
Rick Green, yes.
I don't know him.
No, never heard of him. Yeah, the city doesn't belong in the real estate business. He says. I got glare on the screen, so I'm trying to move around for it. We have members of the council, including the mayor, who think they can buy their way out of these problems. They end up paying premium prices for the real estate, and the value of the property immediately goes down in value. I wouldn't know, but I bet he would. I mean, if
Ricky and I have talked about that a million times, and he is right. We in our humble opinions, we buy too much, and no, we're not in the real estate business. And sometimes it's hard to say, or it does look like we are as we keep on buying. But Ricky's right about that, Brad. He's absolutely, and yes, he is one of the authorities in this town about real estate. If I want to know something about it, if I want to know the value, he's the guy I talk to.
Well, one of the things that we were talking about when you replace the softball fields, first of all, I understand better now that there's a referendum needed by the city itself, for the voters and all this routine.
That's right.
So I got an education on that. But, I wondered if it'd be a great place for like something Cleveland has, which is a convention center, community center. Could we have small conventions here? And with the golf course, maybe some hotel there.
Well, I tell you, the things you've just got through saying did come up. There was a company that has presented an idea and give us some things to look at. And what you say is part of it. It looked like a pretty decent plan, but there again, they're not going to do anything until that softball field has to be dealt with. We must get a vote saying, yes, we can go ahead and use that to sell, and then we'll put the softball fields in another place. But that has to be done.
Right, and I hope it does. I mean, I got a lot of memories playing on that field, but, I just think it's unfortunate. Burleson, a city this size, city growing like this, its location just south of Fort Worth on the highway, all that we have to go to Pathway or First Baptist to have big meetings.
You're right.
I know that Alex has something coming up like University I forget what it's called, doggone it, but my memory's but it's basically one of his presentations, and it's at First. I know that Gabrina Daniels has a big thing going on, a big business expo a week from Saturday at Pathway, and those are the kind of things we'd like to have in a public space.
That's absolutely right. Matter of fact, I'll be part of that, talking about the opportunity fund.
That's why Sarah listens to my show, Project U. Thank you. Okay.
Project U,
okay.
Yes.
Because my memory's really getting bad these days. If I didn't feel the breeze, I'd forget my pants. But it's like, we've been to the Cleveland Center probably 2 or 3 times. I'm sure you've been more than once. And it's a good gathering spot for us. And I'm not saying that we're going to have like the kind of conventions that you get in downtown Fort Worth, but you get a lot of the smaller ones that maybe Will Rogers gets or other locations get. And if you have some sort of deal with a hotel or whatnot, you got the golf course right there.
Yep.
and you got Old Town. You could, even if it's maybe a little bit of a walk for some people, you could have trolleys or trams. Maybe I don't see tracks being laid, but some sort of like transportation provided to go to Old Town and things of that nature. I think
that's a possibility.
Yeah.
Yes,
or maybe other places. Otto's always saying, "Hey, have transport them out here to our place."
Don't blame them a bit.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. I mean, I think that would really make a big difference. And we appreciate what Pathways and First does, but
yes,
but
we do.
It does limit you not just in space, but what if you want to have something more adult libation there? You can't do it at First. I know that.
That is exactly correct.
So, unless you want to go outside and bootleg it. But anyway, it's just funny when you think about that. But anyway, that I hope that takes place. But knowing how government works and projects work, it may be 5 to 10 years before that.
It'd be a
long-term project.
At least 5, and probably be closer to 10.
Yeah, but it's something to start on, and
yes,
I think it'd be a tremendous economic boom, and also for employment and whatnot. So I think I think if you put it in front of the voters and explain to them, well, you're going to have your softball and probably on better fields. It may not be as centrally located, but
definitely be better fields.
Better fields. I mean, it is what it is, but I played plenty on those, and it's like on concrete sometimes. Or
when you're my age, you played on dirt.
Dirt, yeah. But it is a good idea. I hope it comes to pass. When people come to ask you, what your plans are, and you have to give them like a minute or 2-minute recitation, what do you tell them?
Well, I tell them a lot of what we've just got through talking about.
Right.
As far as my plans are exactly that. I would love to see us go on by the golf course and build what we saw presented to us in the way of retail, restaurants, a pavilion. That would be great in that area.
Is this information available to the public yet?
Not yet, simply because it's in a process of they wait and see what's going to happen with the softball field.
Right,
that's a big deal.
Or going back to the old Hill College Methodist Church, you said you had a proposal. Is that proposal something that I or anybody else could see, or is that still such a what if kind of thing that it's not really available yet?
Well, there are some. I'm not sure that it's available for you to see, but we do have a lot of drawings as to what it's going to look like, and believe me, you'd be impressed. That's another thing. Hill College, the old Hill College, we're going to level that land and make it ready to sell. And if this company is still available when it all happens and they're still interested in, you'll have a very nice thing there. It would be a great deal like the plaza.
Well, that'd be good. That'd be great. And also, look at the baseball fields, Chisenhall. I thought those are really nice baseball fields. I remember playing basically in pastures.
Absolutely.
Now, but it brings. I'm sure you have, besides the Little League, you have tournaments there. Your daughter points out the fact that these better softball fields will bring tournaments, which is money.
Well, it is. It is. And by the way, girls and boys, I might add, and the tournament play is always great for the city because you know how that works, Brad. They're all over the city. They're all in our restaurants. They're maybe they've forgotten something, so they run out of coals and buy something, and or they run in town and pick something up. So
they go to our place or Wild. I'm just on the sponsors.
They go to our place. That's exactly right.
Go get a cigar at Wild. Sarah says they are available if you check the 4A meetings.
4A is right. Yeah.
All right. So if you want to see them, it's online, probably on the city website, like everything else is. But still, again, I worked in schools long enough to know that nothing gets done tomorrow. It's done. It takes time. You have to grind through these things.
Yep.
And that's so. But I think that it seems like we haven't lacked for opportunities of businesses coming and talking to us as opposed to us going and begging and pleading or whatever. They come to us.
We used to have to do that. We used to have to go out. There was a big deal in Las Vegas where you could go there and they would they would then entertain your area as to if they wanted to come there with their business. Now you're right; they come to us because we've had a good record of success. You put a restaurant in our city, and generally it's very successful and embraced by the people, which is not always the case in some other cities.
Well, I want to come one more question because we're getting close to time.
Sure.
Has the fact that you and the mayor are running for the same position now, has it affected y'all's working relationship on the council?
Zero. Affected us none whatsoever. And I'll tell you why real quickly, because I told him, I said, I wish you all the luck in the world, and I will not get in the mud with you. I said, I've never done that before in my life, and I'm not going to start now. And I believe that he is of the same. I hope he's of the same.
No, he said the same thing you just did. I asked him that same question last week, and he said that y'all, shook hands, said good luck, and there won't be any animosity. So I'm glad to hear it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I will. If he wins, I will certainly congratulate him, and would hope he'd do the same with me.
Oh, I bet he will, and I bet you will too, because we know you pretty well. By the way, the mayor said his posting is up about the library situation.
Okay, great.
But as far as I didn't expect the two of y'all to have a mud fight. Now, some people may throw mud on,
Oh yeah.
but and I hope we avoid that. But I'm thinking we will. Jackie says vote for Ronnie, so there you go. I bet you got her vote in.
I love Jackie. She is dandy. You got to let me do something here before we get. I have got to wish my wife and my daughters happy Valentine's Day, along with my sister-in-law who lives with us. Happy Valentine's Day.
Well, okay. It's the last question. I'll give you the last word. I'm new to Burleson. I don't know you from Adam. I don't know Mr. Fletcher from Adam. Why would you tell me why I should vote for you?
I would tell you should vote for me because of my experience, my 31 years in elected, the elected position. I would tell you that I've lived in Burleson for 50 plus years and know the people pretty well, and know the city pretty well, and I've always tried to do the right thing, and they can ask their neighbors about me, and I would encourage them to say, ask about me, see what people think about me. And I think that's exactly the way I would answer that question.
It's a good answer. And I'd like to see you again next month. After you get off the air, I'd like to schedule time. And I guess the deadline is signing up. I don't know if any other candidates are thinking about running for mayor, but we'll find out Friday afternoon, I guess.
5 o'clock Friday afternoon.
Yeah. And so we'll see what happens then. And then, Mr. Fletcher will be on next month. You'll be on maybe right after him. And so maybe we'll see what happens.
Sure.
Bill is going to vote for you, I bet.
I've got that feeling.
Yeah. Right. So, well, that's good. I wish you all the luck. I've known you for a long time, and I've always respected and admired how much you put into this community, and I appreciate it very much. And I appreciate you coming on the show. So.
Oh, sure, love it.
All right,
love it, and thank you, Bill.
All right, all right. This will be on Spotify and Apple as soon as we can get it up there. They've been giving us all sorts of grief for some reason. And it'll be on YouTube. It's already on YouTube now. And we'll be having posts on Facebook as soon as I can get home. So thank you all. And, Paige Roper Zapata says, can we bring Dairy Twin back? I knew we had somebody who would ask that question.
I'd love to, but I'm afraid I'm past that right now.
Well, she would know about Mayor. Her father was the mayor, was he not? Rick Roper?
Rick Roper.
Yeah.
Rick Roper, yes.
All right.
Yes.
Well, thank you,
Good
Paige.
guy.
All right. And we'll see y'all Monday. I don't know what I'm talking about Monday. On Tuesday, I have Dallas Owen, who's also running for school board.
Great person.
So we'll have a lot of fun with that.
Oh, there's no loser in that race, by the way.
What now?
What about Thursday?
This coming Thursday. I was getting to that. Relax. Okay. BISD is sending over Courtney Peets, who is, I knew it was Courtney Ellis, but Courtney Peets is the head of the health services for BISD. Right. And so we're going to talk all about that. No, I'm thinking I was going to do my Taylor did. Right. So anyway, but thank you for the show. Next week, I'm still getting in the planning stages. I just like to announce when I have guests ahead of time so they can, everybody, I got to change my schedule. All right. Thank you, Taylor. And we'll see y'all next week or next Thursday. I'm sorry. I'm old man.